Sri Lankan Tamils from the Australian customs boat, the Oceanic Viking. Thank you.
Chris Auchenvoll.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, picture, if you will, 47 years ago, a 19-year-old young Scot, Chris Auchenvoll, arriving in New Zealand. He came here, he joined his brothers because this was a country of egalitarianism, entrepreneurship, and a country that offered personal reward for hard work. Jack as good as his master, and a supportive hands-off government. That's where we were, and that, Mr. Speaker, is where we need to be, and that's where we'll get to with a national government and a continuation of the excellent policies that we've seen over the last 2.5 years. The business and aspirational banner of New Zealand under Labour had been battered, bruised and trodden on under a Labour government that used its base to grow government, not the wealth of taxpayers. Mr. Speaker, National have picked up the banner. Nowhere have national policies worked better than in the West Coast Tasman electorate. West Coast Tasman, that absolute jewel of an electorate which defies a lot of analysis other than you've got to love it, and it's a hard-working, revenue-generating electorate. Mr. Speaker, Labour walked away from the West Coast Tasman electorate from 2002 through to 2005, and then in 2008 the electorate responded by voting overwhelmingly National in the party vote, and indeed I was privileged to be elected as the electoral MP in the electorate vote. Mr. Speaker, the West Coast Tasman electorate voters are a canny lot. They sensed and they contributed to a change of government, and they decided they will be best served by having a government MP as their electorate MP, and they are still clearly of the same mind. What are the drivers in West Coast Tasman? There is tourism, there is dairying, there is modern mining in the West Coast, and there is timber. Tourism, horticulture, dairying and timber in Tasman. Tandem interests. People often say that the West Coast Tasman electorate is an electorate of two halves. In fact, there are more similarities between the two regions of the West Coast and Tasman than there are differences. Neither has a tertiary city of their own. Both are rural and small urban communities. Both have similar challenges in topography, demography and geography. And they do very well because they have, Mr. Speaker, entrepreneurial skills. They flourish and have flourished under a national government and the policies that are offered. And what are those policies? My colleague David Carter gave voice to them. Let's just check them over again. One, a tax system that enhances growth and rewards individuals. That's nice for the coast and Tasman because as people get more of their own money left in their pockets, they spend it in their small local communities. We have an improved education system, and that will continue to improve under a national-led government. We have expanding and a need to expand further our infrastructure. We have to rationalise government and rationalise regulation and reduce it. We need more science, innovation, more infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, also on the coast, we have a recovery in forestry. This is something that Labour largely walked away from, and we have brought that back to a point where we're practically breaking even. There has been large investment in forestry, and it's well on the way to giving a solid, sustainable service for years to come. The economic recovery is expected in 3 years. West Coast and Tasman, Mr. Speaker, will be playing no small part in that. Picking up the banner, the West Coast and Tasman will raise it, restitch it, restore it and make it resplendent, and they will continue to vote for a national government, and they'll continue to be canny and continue to have their national MP as their electorate MP. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Ruth Dyson.